Morning, traders. Sorry for the delay. Had a couple of technical issues, but made it through. Turned it on. Here we are together for coffee. Ted says, good morning, Ted. Good morning, John. Good to see you. Good morning, Chet. Happy hump day indeed. Good morning to you, Phil. Howdy, Bob. Good morning, LK. Nice to have some regulars. Good to see the rest of you as well. Some people tell me they just prefer watching, listening. If you're ever thinking, gosh, should I ask this question? Should I make this comment? The answer is yes, you should. Just give it to me. The good, the bad, the ugly. I want it all. All right. Welcome to the Tradespoon Live Trading Room. I'm Scott. I will be your host. I'm the head trading coach here at Tradespoon. I have been trading for over 20 years, teaching for nearly 20 years. These are the disclosures. Be careful. There's risk. Know what it is. Know how to control it. Have a plan. And always keep in mind, we're not investment advisors. There's your disclosures. Okay. So we talked about yesterday's market. We're trying to see the advice I give people is if you want to be right, have more than one idea of what might happen, right? If you think you're going to be right by just like, okay, here's what I think, it's hard to be water when we have such a rigid perspective of what the future looks like, right? One thing, I'd like to have minimum 3, ideally at least 5. What if it goes up? What if it goes slightly up? What if it goes sideways for a little bit? What if it goes a little down? What if it goes down? So it's not just here's what I think, and then when it doesn't happen, we panic and we don't know what to do. And it's not just for individual trades, but for the market itself, right? That's what we're doing right now. What are the possibilities here? And which of those possibilities are you willing to trade? So your willingness to trade is not going to be based just on your assessment of the probability of any given scenario. It's also going to be, what are the logistics of the trade you build? Where's your stop? Where's your target? What's your time frame? How will you manage it? What, right? Do you think 60% probability of winning? Well, then you could probably squeeze a 1-to-1, 1.5 to 1 out of that and just walk away. Do you think it's a coin toss, 50-50? You better build the trade. You're flirting with where your numbers just aren't going to make sense. So a lot of times people just think it's just like you eventually are going to build this innate ability. Successful trading is going to look like. It's going to look like your ability to process decisions very much like a business where you assess risk, reward, you assess probabilities, and you make decisions that say, yeah, this all makes sense. I'm going to put this on, and then you manage it according to those parameters. So hopefully you can see that's what I'm trying to get across. I hope it does come across. Futures are flat. Boy, I'll tell you what, if looking at this guy, I would think the futures were down 2%. That's a down 2%, kind of a perplexed, slap your hand to your forehead kind of a look. But really, he's just trying to make sense of divergent economic data. So when you get the context, you're like, yeah, okay, that could also be a making sense of divergent economic data look. It's a big one. S&P's down 0.13, down 0.16. You're not seeing my display? Oh, goodness. My joke fell flat then. Oof. How about now? Yes, got it. Love it. Okay. Well, there. Now you get that guy's perplexed look. Now you know what I'm talking about. Thank you, Terrence, for letting me know. Repeat the joke. I can't now. Now it's just going to fall flat. Now it's the opportunity's missed. I screwed it up. I accept that. I accept it. That's on me. It was a great joke. Just imagine it being a great joke. Let's see. The NASDAQ is up 0.03. The Russell down 0.25. The Wall Street Journal suggests a 0.75% rate hike. Okay. I think that's kind of what we've been seeing. I'm not sure whether are they reversing off the lows, because People think that's better than 1%. I'm not quite sure the implications of that headline. I'm not willing to click on the article. Yeah, right, Terrence? Stick to the day job, buddy. Stick to the day job. Apple is steadily, no, I'm not seeing any news. We're talking about a tennis star talking about a different tennis star. Only 3 articles down tells me it's absolutely a slow news day, right? In here. So we're not expecting much. A lot of opinion going on. Yeah. Yeah, I don't see much. Anyone know of news that I'm not talking about? The stock market has been in free fall since the Fed said pain was coming. Would you guys describe it as free fall? I mean, certainly we have come down. Is that? I'm assuming that was back around here. I don't know that that's. I don't know that that's free fall. Well, certainly, it's consolidated. But you can see even now. If you remember yesterday, we were down here. It was down at the bottom, and I said, "Well, it could come back." At one point, it did give a little bit of a hammer, popped up, and then it gave back some of it, but not all of it. So we're still kind of grinding on this support level, right? We're still kind of grinding on this support level. I said that if we closed on the VIX above here, this high, I would consider it a higher low, and I did. And I did put some puts. Not a lot of bullish trading, so more speculative than hedging. I'm very curious because we talked about that signal. Did anybody else watch that, see that, trade that, consider that? Let me know. Put it in the questions. Give me an idea. Okay. So yeah, I did talk about this was to me evidence of an escalating situation. So if the market drops, I've got some things on. I'm also thinking to myself, the VIX looks more bearish than I think the actual SPY does. We did close lower than the body. Did we close lower than this? We didn't close lower than either shadow. 390.04, 390.33. Yesterday we closed at 390.76. Today we open and we're right there in that same area. Someone's nibbled at it. Ted, I got it. John did. Considered it, but didn't trade it waiting for confirmation. Oh, it's definitely oversold, right? 100% I get what you're saying. That's exactly what I'm saying here too. We're still grinding on that support level, right? And so it wasn't this. It was purely a VIX signal. I'll tell you that right now. Purely a VIX signal. We'll see how it plays out. I'm a little on the fence about it based on what I saw on the other chart. And so if we engulf this, we close at or above this level here, I'll shut it down. I'll take the loss and keep it pretty small. And if we drop even, I would say 1 or 2%, I'll probably book some gains and then make it easier to ride the rest. What happened yesterday? Oh, UNG. Oh yeah, it definitely took a tumble. It did look like it was trying to set up through here, right? But I'll tell you, the fact that I passed on this one that had a better consolidation, I was like, I don't think so with this one. So, what did Stella say about this SPY? Carmen said, good morning. Getting me back on track. Let's look at the calendar. I'm almost there. I'm ADDing my way around this morning, so bear with me. We do get to hang out this afternoon. Those of you in afternoon attendance, I will look forward to seeing you twice today. Very exciting. What do we have? I don't have any numbers having come up yet. Perhaps I didn't refresh this page. Thursday the 8th. No, Wednesday the 7th. Is that what it stands for these days? No. We got nothing coming out. Yeah, the trade balance really means nothing. It was really in line. We got Fed speak coming out in about a half hour. Another one, 2.5 hours after that. Hour and a half after that, we get the beige book. So just plenty of Fed, right? And when there's no news, like there is no news today, the Fed is the news. So even smaller, more minor, you can see we're reacting to what the expected rate hike is going to be. Remember, that is coming out 2 weeks from yesterday. So we still have some time, but the more it looms, the more sensitive the market tends to get to information from the Fed. What does Stella think today? Let me refresh that. Adult drunken disorder. Could be. Still negative on the SPY. So my puts that are derived from a VIX signal certainly support this prediction. We look at QQQ. Big moves early today. Energy, natural gas, oil exploration are tanking still. Okay. Let's take a look. Let's go to the NG contracts. Down 3 more percent. So yeah, it is. I'll tell you what, though, it still looks like it's in line to. I would think about that signal. Well, I mean, you can see we're stabilizing here. It's not as bad as it was yesterday, but we're stabilizing a little bit. Oversold. If this thing can find its footing through here around 8, I think I'd consider a bullish stab. What was the other one? Was it oil? Crudes? CL? Oh yeah, look at that. Crude is down 4.3%. I guess the market is open. Sorry, I'm looking at the futures like, well, we can look at the futures, but the market is open. But yeah, definitely down, which is an interesting thing, right? I mean, the ease, it was a little bit like oil was trying to reverse back through here. It kind of, you can see it actually, I would say it did, and for my intents and purposes, it did break the line of consolidation. But remember that the next thing that has to happen is it has to hold, and it just didn't. We're right back now into that previous line. So false breakout, never really gave the right signal. So that was not something that I would trade. Do I like EMA on my chart? I actually usually do have a 50-day moving average. This is actually a little off of what I normally would have on. So yes, I do like it. I wonder if I have a style set here for that. No, I don't think that's it. See, I don't know. Oh, I don't know what I don't know what that is. That's not mine. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this and this. And let's get rid of this. Yeah. Add a 50-day. This is my default chart right there. Let's put it on just so we can see it. Maybe it'll give us some perspective that I've been missing. Okay. There you go. And you can see that is interesting, because while we did break my consolidation, we bounced right off the underside of the 50. Yeah, I think crude's got more to come down. So there you go. Gush. Let me see. Gush. That's an ETF, right? Oil and gas leverage times 2. See, Gush was actually showing, this is exploration. Yeah. It was already moving more bullishly than crude oil prices itself were. But if crude prices can't sustain, nothing else is going to sustain, right? That's why I like to look at the CLs. If the prices themselves are down, nothing else is really going to hold water. Okay, where were we? Did we get through all of these? We did not. Let's get through the Dow and the Russell. So what's a trade, right? Because inevitably someone's going to be like, "What are you putting a trade on? Did you put a trade on?" So we talked about one trade yesterday, and that was to add a little bit of bearish. The model supports it. The VIX supports it. The market is oversold, but okay. I'm very content with that position. It's not a timing issue necessarily. I mean, if you thought, oh, that sounds like a good trade, could you put it on this morning? Of course. Very similarly priced to what it was yesterday. How are we opening here? You can see we're actually up a little bit. And the thing for me is that I would look to take loss early, but if this thing moves up for a few days, I might actually just give it to here. I know my loss will be bigger, but I actually think that, due to the potential for a bear flag pattern, very similar to what we saw here. And you can see with that bear flag pattern, that first day, it's not, you love when it comes smooth, right? You love when you have a nice smooth doji and then it rolls over and you're like, oh, there it is. There's my green light. But sometimes it's like you're looking down at your phone and you're diddling on someone behind you honks and you look up and you're like, oh shit, it's a green light. That's the other day there where it's already flying and you have to decide, right? I mean, there's still plenty of meat left on the bones, but boy, getting that first piece, that's as much of that as we can is important. So the puts I have on now, I will add to if it comes up and gives me this type of a pattern. The problem is adding to them, I have to be careful not to have something like this show up again, right? And then all of a sudden, I'm very happy with the price I got today, and I'm hopeful that I can get more on and see if this thing continues on down for the next leg. Why the 50 and not tighter EMA for day trading like the 20 and the 8? My trades are going to be based more off of the setups. The parameters are based off the daily chart. I mean, honestly, if you're a day trader, you're not even looking at the daily chart. You're looking at 5-minute charts, 10-minute charts, maybe. And so when you look at your moving averages, they're not 8-day and 20 days. They're 40-minute moving averages. And 200-minute moving averages, right? Because as you change your chart, it's not whatever, it's just the period of time set. So there you go. But that's for me on the SPY. This is certainly something that we talked about as one of the possibilities, right? Could we see, let me change colors. Could we see a V from here where we kick up and then we just kind of keep kicking up and we get back up into, I would say for me, it'd have to get back up at least to here, if not all the way up to here, to call it kind of a V pattern. Sure, it could, right? Absolutely, that could happen. And if that happens, your time to trade is today, tomorrow. If it starts bouncing, you have to decide, is that enough? So for me, I might have both. So that if it goes up and keeps going, and I end up taking a loss on some puts, I want to have some calls that have started and are now working better and better as it moves higher. Or if it starts and then fails, I want the ability to maybe even squeeze a little profit out of those bullish trades, helping me to sustain those bearish trades, and then seeing it if it does roll over into this thing. So when you hear me talk about balance, right? When you hear me talk about balance, that's what I mean is, are you so overweight that if one thing or the other happens, you're like going to get whipped around and have a hard time controlling things? That's out of balance. That's a great indication that you are over trading if you hadn't already recognized it, right? Did we get through everything? I think we did. Dow is looking. Now you know what I mean when I say the ADD my way around. DIA is down, and IWM is down. All predictions are going south, right? From a research standpoint, we actually would expect a little bump. That's where we are. We're here. So if we saw a little bump, that would make sense in context with this, which is now much more correlated than it's been. So right around, I would say here. This is where the correlation kind of intersected, and then all of a sudden that was right. They moved down together, up a little bit. Then we got this big move. Then it went down. We went down. So through here, we're seeing a much higher level of predictability coming there. And this supports it. This supports that it could move up a little bit. Then it could move down either a little bit or even worse. But we still then have this possibility. And anyone who's like, oh, well, the economy's so bad or the inflation doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You're trying to make sense of it. You're trying to make it all make sense. It doesn't all make sense. Right? It doesn't have to make sense. The market can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent. Right? An old saying. It doesn't have to make sense. It might not make sense. So don't expect it to necessarily make sense. Just be aware of what are the forces of supply and demand. What are they doing? What are they telling you? Keep an open mind and be water, my friends. Be water. Okay. Let's jump into look at Starbucks went on an upgrade. What does correlation mean? It means how accurately has the market been adhering to. Remember, this green is a representation, a composite representation of the last 25 years, right? So if you were to say, hey, if you looked at an average year, like what does it do on average, the cycle, the market? It looks like this. Sideways in January, nice bullish spring. Sell in May, go away, if you ever wonder where that comes from, because it tends to go sideways, a little bump in the summer, and then sideways for another couple of months. And then we have a tendency to see a nice little Santa fall rally. And that's how the market tends to cycle. What this correlation is telling us is how accurately are we with it. Now, back here in the beginning of the year, the correlation literally went negative. It was like, I've never seen that before. Because you can see that we're supposed to be going up and we're going down, and it's just off. It was off. And so the correlation was off. And I said, I'm going to keep watching it because eventually it's going to recalibrate itself. And then there's going to be some validity to it. And I think we've got to that point for me where I say, okay, we seem to be moving back into these old cycles. They're not 100% predictive, but they're high enough, have a high enough correlation that we should add them to the soup, see how it tastes. So that's what the correlation means. Okay, let's dive over now to, so a nice little start, 0.46, right? Not bad. So what do we think to ourselves? Do we have some bullish things available? Let's look at the VIX. So it's easy to be like, oh, I was wrong on my puts. My puts can't be wrong 16 minutes into the day. Certainly you can see what my concern was, and why I want balance. But when I get a signal, I've got to trust the signal enough that I take it. Otherwise, I should never take it. I either trust it, live with it, or I don't ever take it. It did the setup I was looking for. It gave the trigger I was looking for. It actually closed above the body of this candle too. The only thing that would have prevented it is if you waited for this, but that's if you wait for that, you're going to wait too long. So yeah, I can live with it. Okay, let's dive into the watch list. So let me get back to a closer to see chart. Alcoa. See, I don't know. If this holds and turns, I think I would still think about it down here. I still think that there's some possibility for that to reverse. Apple's trying to stabilize here. So that's where you ask yourself, is this a reasonable point to buy Apple? And the thought process would be even that if it goes up, it only gets to here, right? Somewhere in this range, you might, and it doesn't get any further. Yeah, I would definitely think it's going to drop further because it would be a lower high followed by another lower high after a lower low. But there's enough there that I could pick up a piece of that. Now, if it V's and it gets back to 170, it's a great trade if I pick it up down here. If it gets to 162 and then falls apart, I still squeaked some money out of it. And then I can think about now what on the bear side. I wouldn't trade Apple bearish necessarily. I think you could. I'm looking more at the chip stocks, right? I think they're leading technology in the weakness right now. So that's what I'm thinking. There's a chip stock. You see why I say that? Right? It's not what I think. It's not what I believe. What do I see? I see more weakness here. And if this pops up a little bit, I absolutely could see this testing lows on the next move down. So, yeah. And is it this chip stock? No, there's plenty for me to consider. ADM, I would still be thinking bullishly about. It didn't hold here. But like I said, I give it one chance to hold, especially if it's on this side of the 50. That's why I like the 50, is it's a little bit more midterm. And I can say to myself, is this an opportunity? So for me, ADM is still a bullish candidate that I'm absolutely considering. Let's see what the model thinks about this one. We know she's feeling bearish. There's not going to be a lot that she likes right now. When all four major markets are down, it's going to be harder to find a signal that you like. Come on, Stella. You're embarrassing me in front of my friends. Okay. Okay. So there's some confusion there, right? There's definitely some uncertainty from the model. I think it's not down, but it's certainly got I'd check this again tomorrow. But I think Stella agrees with me. I think this is one that's holding on to some level of strength. So there's one for my bulls. AMD, that's one for my bears. You can see how much weakness chips have. And if this comes up, let's say here to 85, I think definitely 70 is the next stop, or at least real close. So that's one that I would be thinking to the other side. Why am I thinking both sides? Well, right, my market posture for a little while there was getting better and better. And it's like, okay, it's getting better. It's getting better. Now what has it done? It's eased back. Has it gotten bearish? Nope. It's just kind of sitting in a neutral spot. Anyone else? Where's your posture? If you conduct this analysis, the market posture analysis that I'm talking about, if you don't, go dive into the archives of the Active Investor Workshop series, and there is a market forecasting session there where I talk about, it's very similar to what we do here in the mornings, but it's a weekend routine where I look at short-term charts, long-term charts, volume, major market analysis, sector rotation, VIX, score it, add it up, make sure I understand what sectors are looking the best. And it's just at any given time, I have a very strong idea of what the market's doing and what my opportunities are based on what the market is doing. So right now, the neutral posture doesn't say not to do anything. It says I can do either side. I can do anything. I can do time strategies. I can do bull strategies or bear strategies. But I want to be balanced, and I want to make sure that I'm doing it with risk managed. I'm not looking to be aggressively neutral. That's not a thing, right? You're not aggressively neutral, just neutral. So yeah, you can see really where this thing was looking good. I think we took this trade and this trade. And you can see that even on this one, I'm pretty sure I broke even, and a couple people said they made some money. But there's that first lower low right here. Certainly played out, looking for the next one, because very easily could see this thing back down at the bottoms after this. That's what I'm looking for. Amazon. I don't know. It's below the 50, but it's still sitting on top of this gap. So it's like kind of closed it, but it's this old, you can see old resistance here, pretty strong. Old resistance here, pretty strong. New support here. Do we bounce up off of that? That's a question. I'm not sure if I'd be willing to trade that one. AXP looks pretty similar to Amazon, a little lower than I'd like to see. Boeing, you can see a lot of correlation, a lot of things that have just gotten through the under of that 50, which is concerning. And now they look like they're trying to turn, but how high do they go? Yeah, this looks like a good signal. Stochastic is turning up. Nice bullish engulfing candle. Really establishes this support level. Would allow me to put my stop underneath that. $4 a risk. If it retests 170, I'm risking 4 to get 16. If it only goes halfway, I'm still getting 2 to 1. I'm thinking about Boeing, right? Not because I love Boeing, but because, okay, is there a trade in here that could work out? Stella's like, nope, don't do it. You're too early. Okay. Grain of salt. Put it in the mix. I said no to the Chinese stocks. I was somewhat skeptical when they first broke out and brought to my attention. If I look at this here, you'll notice we're kind of back in. The fall was too much. The buyers couldn't hang on. So I would say if you have a penchant for trading Chinese stocks, maybe still be patient. How many stocks do I look at? How many trades per week? Well, see, that's how many trades per week. It's the standard. It depends. Depends on market conditions. Strong market conditions, I could be churning 10 or 12 trades a week, no problem. Maybe even more. In a weak market, I might be doing some day trading, so that might be more. But in a market like this, I have no interest in even setting a figure where it becomes like I need to be trading more. I'm looking to trade what the market's given me in a market like this. Make sure I stay whole. Make sure I'm in a good position that when things improve again, I'm ready to capitalize. Okay, let's keep going. BAC. Yeah, I don't know. Financials are an interesting one. I can't quite tell if they don't look that weak. They never really got that strong. So I don't know. Maybe they're just going to sit there for a little bit. Bed Bath & Beyond. All right, here's another one. Dutch Brothers that just sort of fell below. Someone told me there was a Starbucks upgrade. So we'll see how Starbucks looks relative to this. Let's actually jump to it now. There's Starbucks. Oh, see, Starbucks does look better. Starbucks held the 50. You might decide this is a trade you're interested in here. If you were to do that, I would say the hike and Ashy would let you put your stop a little closer. But you are jumping into a reaction from some news. I mean, the volume is pretty good. Yeah, I mean, I think that's viable for bulls. You can see that it just has a little bit better quality to it with it staying above its 50-day moving average that Dutch Brothers didn't have. Here is Caterpillar, still going down. ConocoPhillips, right? That one was actually a nice price setup, but the stochastics didn't turn. It only started to pinch a little bit here, but right, no one's looking to trade in on a bearish engulfing, and so never really materialized. Costco, Costco I think is actually, it's below the 50, but not by much. I think I would actually still think this looks reasonable for an entry. Stochastics is turning up. If this candle stays, I'd say Costco is probably one of the better looking for today. You can see, though, where it's at. Archer Daniels, defensive. Boeing, somewhat defensive, right? It's an industrial, but I would say it's somewhat of defensive quality. Costco, somewhat defensive, right? Here's DBC, not looking anything energy-wise. John Deere looks good, right? This looks good. It's pinched. I might wait for a little more price confirmation, but I would put John Deere as a definite setup. Let's see if Stella agrees with either of these that I say look pretty good. Here's Costco. Stella says, yeah, she's hard to please right now. So Stella says too early still. John Deere. So John Deere's a little bit more stable. Still not getting great looks from the model, but that's what we're up against in a market like this. You're not going to have all of your signs showing up. You got to decide which ones do I need and willing to trade through. Bullish. The Dow trying to stabilize. Disney still above the 50, trying to stabilize. So you can see the sellers are just like pushing. The buyers are just can't get their foot through the door right now. It's tough. Ford's still sitting above the 50. I would say bullish candle might be worth looking at. FCX. Nah, not for me. FXI. There's China, not doing much. Nothing really there for us. GLD. Yeah. So I've been saying this, I feel like, for like 3 years now. But gold just has such a weird, I don't know, aura about it. And I mean, I really haven't seen it behave defensively. It's certainly not defensive now. No one's like, oh, markets might go down, inflation, let's buy gold. It's just not happening. And prior to this, one of the explanations was a lot of people who might normally trade gold were going to cryptos, right? But I really don't. We haven't talked about cryptos lately here. Let's take a look. I really don't feel like that's where the money's going. Let's look at Bitcoin. Right? It tried to get going here, very much a correlation, and then you can see it just rolled over, and now we're at new lows. I believe Ethereum's going to look exactly the same way. Ethereum looks a little better, but looks like it's ready to fall back down here to 1225. So yeah, the money's not going to the cryptos, but it's also not going to the precious metals. So it's like, where's it going? Is it going bonds? Maybe. It's interesting right now. right? Some of the rules that we're used to showing up aren't showing up. Jets. No, you can see we're just a little too far under the 50. Facebook under. Marvell, another chip stock. That's another one on our list that if it were to pop up a little bit, we would look for it to trade rolling over. Microsoft. Microsoft is a scary aspect of the market for me right now, because of what a market leader it is. In addition to Apple, depending on the index, it's the two of them are somewhere between 13 and 21%, depending on if you're looking at the NASDAQ or the Russell. Netflix is interesting. It right, got beat up around earnings, and then it recovered after the last earnings, and now it's just kind of sitting flat. I don't know. That's an interesting model they have. I swear my Netflix bill is like $23 now, though, right? Like, I'm like, wait, didn't it used to be $9.99? What happened to that? Neo earnings were this morning, I believe. And you can see it gapped down and then rallied hard and then gave back, and now it's just kind of sitting back in that same area. No help. Nvidia is a dog right now. I used to love trading Nvidia, and now it's just a dog. If it rallies, if it moves up a little bit, it's chips, definitely. I'm definitely going to short something with chips if we don't have much of a market move. NASDAQ underneath it. You can see the same patterns over and over. Starbucks is on our list of things we would consider. Let's see if Starbucks is at least worthwhile. Again, though, somewhat defensive, right? People always will buy theirs. That looks a little better than some. The model likes nothing. So let me ask you this. What are you in right now? Are you in more bearish trades or more bullish trades right now? If you have, or are you in cash? Give me the sentiment of the room. I'm curious. Inquiring minds want to know. Why do some stocks with good earnings go down? Good earnings, bad guidance, right? Good earnings, bad guidance. So guidance, if they're like, yeah, we exceeded expectations this quarter, but next year it's going to get ugly. That's all people hear. They don't hear anything until after the but. So if they give good report and good guidance, then they should move together. Bad earnings, bad guidance move together. But if they say, "Oh, we missed our report, but our sales are accelerating," you'll see the stock jump because people are like, "Oh, they said but." So all I heard was sales are accelerating. Or they said but. So all I heard was things are slowing down. So you'll see that it that's really tends to be more of a focus than the expectations themselves. I tend to find that the composite of the expectations, what percent of companies are exceeding and by what average percentage amount, help me to assess an earnings season. But yeah, I've realized that it's much more what they're giving for guidance than what they're actually doing. Let's see. Carol says cash. Carmen says cash. Ted says fractionally bullish. Phil says primarily cash with a few bearish trades. Cash mostly, a few day trades. Okay. More bullish trades by habit, but confused. Yeah. I mean, look, it's not an easy market to read. Excessive expectations, right? How weak is Shopify? Shopify. Someone else gave me one. Moderna. I'll take a look. Yeah, it's pretty weak. It's pretty weak. I mean, it's just kind of sitting on its lows. But if it rallied a little bit and couldn't get through the 50, I think that you could think about taking a shot at it to break the lows. It just doesn't look good down there. Here's Moderna, mRNA. Moderna looks weak. Really, really not looking good. Aren't they getting sued by someone? Pfizer? Johnson & Johnson? Someone with more money than they have. I'll tell you that. That's who's suing them. It's one or the other. I don't know how much impact that has. I mean, they've definitely, from their highs, they're down, what, almost 70 points from 200, 35% down from the highs in the last 2 months. That sucker's not looking good. Oh, they're suing PFE. Oh, I had it wrong, huh? Okay, well, good luck, because they have a lot more money than you. Patent infringement on COVID. Huh. So what's the premise that they solved it? I mean, I remember them saying we solved it in 24 hours. Now we just have to build it. So I'm wondering if they filed the patent, but I don't know if Pfizer comes to similar conclusions. Oh, it used their technology. So what do you guys think? Is that have merit? Are they going to win, or is it just going to drag on in the courts forever? My vote is drag on in the courts forever. These things are interesting. So I guess we'll see what happens. Very, very complicated legally. All right, I would think so, man. I would think so. Okay. Where was I? Starbucks. Starbucks is good. Silver, not good. Semiconductors, not good. SPY, okay, 0.25%. Right, it's kind of the same thing we thought here. Could, tried, didn't, could. Right, we'll see what happens. Under the 50, it's got a lot of work to do. Now, the one thing I will say is that I've been talking about the volume. Well, the volume's picking up. Right, the volume is picking up. What time is it? Okay. Stochastics was curling up on SLV. Why not good? Because the trend is so bad. You're coming off its lowest low right here. Right? So remember, this is the last thing to look at. What do I look at first? I look at trend. I look at support and resistance. I look at volume. I look at candles. And I basically say, which way am I even willing to trade this? So as I look at this, I'd be like, yeah, I'm not willing to trade this to the upside. And I look down here and it's like, it's going up. I'd be like, oh, I already said I'm not willing to trade it to the upside. Oops, that's not what I'm looking for. What am I looking for? Where was I? What's going on? SPY. Yeah, okay. Tesla. It's going to do something. And then I lost my train of thought. Tesla's a maybe. It's close enough to its 50 that I'd say Tesla's a maybe. It's turning up. Yeah, I would maybe be willing to take a stab at this, see if we can get back up here to the 310, 312. Even if I got a few days out of it, I should still be able to get out of this. What does this look like, Heiken-Ashi? Heiken-Ashi's close. Close. But looking good. It's turning. So, yeah, let's put Tesla on the list. UNG still coming down, but not as much. Visa. Visa. Yeah, it's too low. Too low. VIX. Just kind of sitting in this same area we've been sitting at. We'll see what happens there. XLP. I like Archer Daniels as a representative of the consumer staples. XLU. Oh, look at utilities. Utilities is getting a little bit more. So Raymond wants to know, do I know what happened with XOP? Or just oil prices in general. You can see XOP is down 2.8%. If I go directly to the crude oil prices, they're actually down 4.5%. So, yeah, there you go. So, are there trades today? Yeah, there's some that if you wanted or felt like you needed some bullish components to your portfolio, maybe you have too much bearish and you want to add some bullish. Maybe you see the market as being more bullish, so you want to add some bullish. But if you were looking to do that, then we have a few things to look at. They're in the same general areas: consumer discretionary consumer staples / industrials. Boeing, John Deere, Costco, Starbucks, Archer Daniels. Big names, things that tend to stay steady even in harder markets. Obviously, that's one of the reasons why we're interested in. So the Carmen asked where to go see some of the teaching videos. Let me show you that real quickly. If you come here into your quick navigation and you have event recordings, and so you have the trading rooms, but here's the active investor workshops. May 24th was the last one. But there is, right? You can see here I talk about hedging, talk about calendar spreads, which one day we will get to trade those again regularly. And when that day comes, my weekly trading activity will be much higher. Here's market posture. So there's just some video presentations in there to take a look. Be careful out there still. We are in an oversold market, but we are in an oversold market that has sellers trying to take control. It's a unique environment, right? Inflation we haven't seen in 40 years, still recovering from a pandemic we hadn't seen in 100 years. Global conflict, crazy external forces on our energy market, supply chain disruptions. Yeah, be careful out there. Don't be in a rush to trade. Make sure that you know exactly why you're doing the things that you're doing. It's good to see everybody. I'll be back this afternoon. I hope you'll join me. If not, I'll be back tomorrow morning. We'll wrap this week up and just make sure that you feel like you have your bearings. You know what direction you're going and what speed you should be traveling based on what the market is showing us. Have a great rest of your day. And as always, happy trading.